My name is Int'l Sensei. I am the founder and chief instructor of Sport Combat. Sport Combat is based on actual fighting techniques using very soft weapons to avoid injury. Because we're using the soft weapons, we're able to fight at full speed and full intensity without injuring our opponents. This system of martial arts allows you to employ all the different techniques that you have learned in your martial art training, plus the ones that we're going to be sharing with you in our videos and books. There are many things that are available in terms of technique. Aikido, Judo, Karate, Jiu-Jitsu, all can be integrated into Sport Combat. One of the founding principles of Sport Combat is drawing your opponent into your sphere. Also, using as little energy as possible to achieve what you want to do. We are working with martial art techniques and not brute force. You will be rewarded in our competitions by performing spins, tosses, pins, and throws up and using your weapons. In fact, you can score 2 points by throwing your opponent down by using your weapons, and you only score 1 point by making a cut. In our second tape, we will continue with the basic weapon techniques of Sport Combat. You will learn how to use 2 swords, staff, and Tanto and arm shield. All of these techniques will be based on what you've learned in tape 1. And each of the techniques that you learn in the second tape can be applied to short sword and long sword. Helping me today is Phil Ortiz Sensei from New York, Master Jeff King of Morgan Hill, California, Grant Petnati Sensei of Santa Cruz, California, and Tony Ramirez, also of Santa Cruz. First part of this tape, we'll explore the various techniques used in staff fighting. Staff fighting is very different than sword technique. We have different foot positions. You are constantly changing your hands and feet with each movement. In sword, in the previous tapes, both feet were parallel. In staff, we maintain a 90-degree angle. Heels are lined up. Shoulders are relaxed. Hands are relaxed. With every motion, every movement of the staff, you need to change hip and foot position. To move the staff, you need to be able to slide it back and forth easily in your hands. The most basic exercise is just having the hands move back and forth easily. If we change position, we need to change which hip is pointing towards our opponent. Notice as I thrust from low position that I allow the staff to move like a pool cue. In staff, unlike sword, all you need to do is strike your opponent. A cut is not necessary. Also, a thrust is the same as the sword. The tip must bend to score a point. Basic positions, fighting positions for the staff. Middle position. Notice that my rear hand is lower than my forward hand. This is high position, middle position. This is side position. Notice that I need to slide my hands to make that change. Then we go from side position to low position. Notice that this hand, the knuckles are facing my chest, and the palm on the low hand is facing forward. Every time you change your position, you need to move your feet and hands. The attack is coming towards my back shoulder, the back of my shoulder here. I can step off line and parry. Or if the attack is coming to my shin, I'd slide back and parry low. If the attack is coming to the left side of my head, I slide back, pull the staff in against my body so it's nice and tight. So, Phil Sensei, push on me. That can't be moved. And just having the staff 6 to 9 inches above the head. That's all we need to do is make them miss. Come back again. And now to right side of the head. Same parry, just shifting it over to the right, keeping it into the core of the body. Now you also can parry butt end of your staff. Keeping the weapon against my body, I parry this way and it steps slightly offline and back. One more time. From the side position, which is done with both hands held very low, you can parry with either the front or the back end of your staff. Attack head again. There. Back. And using the butt end from here, attack. Just so. You can also parry by coming, as he attacks, by coming up into an overhead, just like with long sword, and having the same kind of reposting technique as long sword. A high spinning parry. One more time, please. Never get yourself horizontal to your opponent. Always keep your hip facing towards your opponent. As soon as you become wide, you're totally vulnerable. You want to keep as small of a target as possible to offer your opponent very little. So keep your hips pointed. Wherever your hip is pointed, that's where your weapon is going to land. If your hip is not pointed at your opponent when you're striking him, you will not land your strike. The straight 45-degree angle attack is much more efficient. It is quicker and leaves less opportunity. If he comes around with the roundhouse, sort of a roundhouse punch, it's very easy to block and flip the opponent's weapon out of their hands. The further you get away from the body, like when he was making the strike here, going around, the more vulnerable you are. When you extend your arms out, like that, and your opponent catches it, it is very easy to flip the weapon open, toss them around, and score a point. But if it's coming in straight, even if I catch it, it's very hard. He has much better leverage here. He's positioned against his body, and I can block him, but it's not that easy to flip him up and throw him off. So I would just have to block, step back, and strike. The other way to strike with the butt end of the staff. From Jodan, from high position, you can change hands, you can thrust, and you can change hands and strike low. Notice my knee is bent, both hands are below my belly button, and we come in on the shin. From side position, you can attack the head by coming straight over, changing hip position. Watch, I'm going to do this slowly. Watch how this hand slides down the shaft. You can attack underneath from side position. And you can also thrust from side position. From low position, you can thrust, and you can do a sort of a quick step in, do a quick forehead smash. This is usually done in conjunction with blocking low and striking high. Good exercise for practicing parries is have your partner start by striking on both sides of the head, both sides of the torso, then to the leg, and then a thrust. Pretty much stand in place doing this exercise. You do want to be retreating and advancing, but the idea here in the beginning is just getting your hands up in the right position. In staff, we have a special diagonal fighting position, held in the right hand with the right knuckles at the right cheekbone. The elbow is parallel to the shoulder. The left hand is about mid-thigh. The weapon is crossing the body, protecting the leg and the upper torso. To parry, all I have to do is turn my body. If he attacks to the right side of my head, step back and bring the low end up. Now, if I attack Phil Sensei from this position, this is the little different technique than you've seen before. What happens is I'm going to pull the staff up into my armpit, and when I complete the strike, it's going to be like I am shooting a rifle. Slowly, it looks like this. Please avoid doing this kind of strike. Keep your strike going straight and at a 45-degree angle. Also from this position, you can strike with the butt end, the low end. Now, if Phil Sensei attacks my shin, we can reverse it by stepping back and blocking this way. Repost. Please attack my head, left side. Repost. Attack my head, right side. Repost. And thrust. These are the different variations that you can use from diagonal position. Remember, keep your weapon touching some part of your upper torso, because that gives you stability and doesn't allow your opponent's strikes to push through. If your hands are out here and strike with the butt end, it'll come right on through. If I keep it tight in, you can't get it there, and once again, you can't get in here. For this technique, I have to slide and shift my hands as they come up over my head. With this technique, I end up with my arms crossed to make the repost. One more time, please. Now, there's another way of parrying, and that is not parrying. That is just avoiding a shin cut. Now, we'll do the same exercise, attacking from the left side to the right side, back to the left side, parries and repos. Notice, made a strike, I kept my weapons pointed directly at Tony-san. One thing you need to remember, that in competition, nothing is fair. And you and your opponent are moving very fast, and even though you might have gotten a good clean cut, the judges might not see it. And until you hear the judges yell stop, you need to keep going and be ready. So until you hear somebody tell you to stop, always finish with your weapons pointed towards your opponent. Never break your concentration. Never break your zanshen. Until you're told to halt, you are fighting. Never stop moving. Next, we are going to demonstrate the parrying techniques of protected on 8 sides. And then he's going to strike on the right. He is going to strike head. And he is going to thrust. Two variations from protected on 8 sides. The attack will be a head cut and a thrust. Now, notice, we'll do this slowly. Attack, I block here, he thrusts, I parry here, and then I use my chi, my energy, to push his sword away and cut his arm. It's outstretched. In the other variation, it will be the same thing, except I'm going to parry this weapon, and then I'm going to reach under his arm and cut back. This technique is parrying a second intention attack and reposting on the attacker. Tony-san is going to cut left torso, then cut right torso. I'm going to parry and repost as I retreat and get back out of the way. In the throwing of the opponent, you cannot use your hands to grapple, but you can use your weapons to get leverage and have them fall down. Now, Jeff Sensei and I will demonstrate a pinning technique. Attack me with 2 thrusts, and I'm going to parry them with 2 torso parries. As I parry, I'm going to be stepping in until I am pinning both his arms to his side, and then I will step to my side and make a cut across his abdomen. And that is worth 2 points. This is another pinning technique, which is slightly more complicated. involves pinning first the left arm, then the right arm, and then stepping behind the attacker and finishing him off with a cut on the arm. There are many different ways to use these weapons. Any martial arts school can adapt these weapons to their style. Here's an example. Jeff Sensei is going to thrust. I'm going to sidestep and block, do a reversed thrust, spin, and cut on the back. Tanto and arm shield are the most advanced techniques for sport combat in our basic series. You can use either weapon for parrying, and you can also check with the end of the shield. These techniques are much faster than the other weapons because you are in very close proximity to your opponent. There are 4 basic stances to Tanto with shield. First one, shield forward, sword back. Number 2, weapon forward, shield back. Number 3 is both weapon and shield down. And number 4 is hiding the Tanto behind the right leg, shield in front of the body. By changing these positions while you're fighting, you can create confusion and uncertainty in your opponents. The basic grip for Tanto is similar to short sword. The V of your hand is over the top of the handle, fingers touching the tsuba, the guard. Then when you are trying to reach further, slide your hand back up to the end of the tsuba, the end of the handle, so that you can have more grip for a high strike. Be sure to always have the basic grip though if you are thrusting, so you have more control. When you are cutting, remember to use your wrist and snap and pull down with your little finger to make your cut. Basic footwork for Tanto is a little different than the other weapons. There are more variations and options. Crossing step. Sliding forward, sliding back. Lunging forward, leaping back. Running attack. And leaping attack. Practice these variations because you never can tell which one you're going to need at any given moment. Once again, Tanto is very quick. You need to get out of the way very quickly with an aggressive opponent. There are two basic cuts and one basic thrust in the use of the Tanto. The first one is striking at your opponent and then pulling the Tanto, the dagger, back through, causing it to make a cut. The second one is striking at your opponent and pushing through to make a cut. And then the third basic attack is thrusting. When you thrust, the tip must bend and it must be immediately pulled out for you to score a point in the tournament. At this point in your training, we are no longer talking about just doing a parry and then reposting. You need to be parrying, reposting, all in one motion. So these parries, first with the arm shield and then with the Tanto, are going to be done in conjunction either with a repost or a check. First, we're going to demonstrate the arm shield in parrying techniques. High, left, right, low, You also have the option of parrying with your Tanto and using your arm shield for checking. When checking, do not push your opponent too hard, or you will help your opponent out of striking range. Remember, the Tanto is a short weapon. The most important thing in any of the sport combat is not how you use your arms and your shield and your weapons, but what you do with your center and your feet. This is an exercise to do that you can disengage from a sweeping up parry that's holding your weapon in a high position very simply by just stepping off to the left to be able to make an abdominal cut. When Grandson brought my weapon up here, and I had his weapon down here, I just stepped off to the side, and that opened me up to make the abdominal cut. It takes very little energy and very little effort. Just one step off to the side, and you open up a target that's easy to cut. When you have an opponent who is of equal skill or even a higher level of skill than you are, it's very rare that you're going to score a point by just a single attack. Like with the other weapons, it's necessary to do second and third intention attacks. Grandson, head attack, drawing my shield up. I will then counter with a thrust, which he will parry, and his second intention will be dropping his weapon down and giving me a thrust to the abdomen. One of the basic principles of sport combat is drawing your opponent into your circle of power. offering them an opening so that you can pull them in. In this technique, I'm going to offer my right shoulder without any protection. Grandson will then attack. I will evade by turning my hips. I will then slide forward and punch under his arm with my shield, lifting his arm up, opening up a space for me to do a thrust. Remember, all martial arts comes from the center. Move from your center, from your hips, then your feet, and then your hands move. Every time that you make a movement, that movement should have purpose and should be strong and powerful, but efficient. Practice all these techniques many times, and you will have years of fun and pleasure from sport combat. I hope to see you all at tournaments soon.
Red point! Red point! All right. Begin. All right. Point. Begin.
Thank you for watching our video. We hope that you find it informative as well as entertaining. This video was brought to you by TC Media, who also publish Kung Fu Qigong magazine and kungfumagazine.com. These publications, as well as our vast video library, are just a portion of our offerings to you in the wide world of martial arts. Please take a brief moment to review our extensive collections of other products for the martial arts. Through our product fulfillment center, Martial Arts Mart, we bring you a complete selection of the highest quality products for the martial arts at affordable prices. We also offer valuable discounts and rapid delivery service by the most knowledgeable sales representatives. To receive a free catalog for yourself or your friends, please call us toll-free at 1-800-824-2433 or check out our online store at www.martialartsmart.com. Act now.